Welcome to the Gamecast, podcast number 2. This is Mark, your host from Pixel Motion.
And this is Greg from Pixel Play Cafe.
Today's game, we are going to talk about Resident Evil 2. Last week, we talked about Fatal Rewind on the Genesis, and you can check out that up there in the little corner there. And anyway, with Resident Evil 2, that was actually my first entry into the series, and that was because I had an N64, and my brother and I saved up money. It was actually one of the $70 games back then, so it's a bit more expensive than the normal, and we ended up getting it, and we played the crap out of that game. Both campaigns, actually. Surprising that the whole game was on the damn cartridge, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Greg has played Resident Evil 2 on multiple systems. I'm curious what your experience is having played it on the PlayStation, the N64, Dreamcast, GameCube by chance?
I did not play on GameCube, no.
Well, what systems did you play it all on?
Well, I have a little story to go with. The first time I played Resident Evil 2.
All right.
Friend of ours that we went to school with, he had a nice habit of deciding he was sick and getting his mom to call into school for him so he could take the day off.
Yeah.
And he was pretty excited for Resident Evil 2, so he was sick. And so I had also had a habit of not going to school. I didn't make up an excuse, though. I just didn't go. So I went to his house, and we sat and played Resident Evil 2 all day.
Fantastic.
All day long.
On the PS2?
PS1.
Or PS1, I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. Original release and everything, like launch day.
The digital controls version?
Yep.
Okay.
And the first release of it, we played it a lot that day. I don't remember much else. We just played that, probably drank a lot of Mountain Dew, ate some chips, whatever you do when you're that young. And it was awesome. We were both really satisfied with the game. After having played the first game quite a bit, we had high expectations for this one, and it delivered.
That delivered? Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we probably beat the game either that day or shortly after,
Wow.
a couple days later maybe. The whole 2-disc thing really threw us off because we didn't know what it was for. And at the time, you didn't have internet, so you didn't know about the whole scenario thing until you did it.
See, and that brings up a point about the N64 version, because they didn't come with 2 carts. It was all on one. I mean, there's a reason why that's like the largest game on the N64, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Damn.
the zapping system, as they called it, was really unique. Even if they did it today, I think it'd still be pretty unique, because the basic idea was that you would play through as either Leon or Claire, and depending on what items you picked up or didn't pick up, you would alter the path for the other character's scenario. So in some of the footage you're probably seeing now, I played through as Leon. I think it was my first time doing it as Leon, maybe the second time. And I knew this. So there were certain drawers and closets and stuff I didn't open or take the items from, because I knew that when I came back to play through as Claire, those items would no longer be there. And I knew I wanted them for her, basically because I kind of know what to expect in the second scenario. Second scenario,
pretty amazing design right there.
It's pretty cool to think, but it's funny because until just like a week ago, I hadn't even bothered to do the second scenario. I always figured it was just like a reshuffling of the items, and that was about it. Everything else I figured was about the same. Well, that's not really the case, because at the beginning,
what you're telling me, if, like, let's say back then when you guys played, you played as one character, beat the game, you're like, we're done, we beat it. But that's really not the case.
No, it's not. And I guess I haven't fully beat Resident Evil 2 in all these years. I've just played through the one scenario over and over again.
Well, you better get to it, man.
Yeah, well, it's cool. Just I haven't gone all the way through scenario B. But after I completed it with Leon on the Dreamcast, by the way, I went and started playing with Claire for scenario B. So scenario A is done, B is started, and I didn't realize that when you start scenario B, that car crash that you're in at the very beginning of the game, you actually start on the opposite side of that same crash. So when you're running to the police department, it's not even the same area you're running through.
That's pretty
as
awesome.
The first character. And I had always assumed that they just, like I said, reshuffled the items and that was it. But no, actually the path to the police station is quite a lot shorter, I feel like. And it's really cool. Like, I'm really surprised. There's obviously events that happen within the game that you see from a different perspective. Like, there's a helicopter that crashes. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of that. There's a scene where a helicopter crashes into the building. On your first scenario playthrough, you see the helicopter in the building burning, and you have to put it out. Well, when you play through scenario B, you see the helicopter going down into the building.
See, that's pretty awesome.
And you're outside, so like you see it in the sky, like, oh hey, it's help, and then no, it's not help. So it's really cool, and to see all these different events happen like that, it's interesting. Plus, there's some characters that you get to know through scenario A, because I played through as Claire for scenario A most of the time until this playthrough. So I got familiar with like Chief Irons and Sherry Birkin, the little girl. But when you play through scenario B as Claire, those characters are there, but things are just a little different. So it's really cool so far. I need to finish it up quick because Resident Evil 2 remake, as of this recording, comes out in like 2 weeks. So I need to get through the original fully before that game comes out.
Yeah. Well, I need to, honestly, I got to play through both scenarios. I haven't played it in probably since like 1999 or 2000. My first time playing the original game was actually on the GameCube remaster, and then I tried playing the original PS1 director's cut, and it was like a shock of how, just how it looks, and it's like, damn, they really changed everything. But I don't know, this is crazy, man.
It's worth playing through the first game, not the director's cut. If you can get the DualShock, I think it's a DualShock but not director's cut version. There's a few different iterations, but in the final director's cut version that you can buy in PSN and stuff now, it has altered music. And let's just say it's awful. Like, some of it is just like there's do you remember the kitchen scene in the first game? You go down the stairs and you're kind of in like a kitchen area. There's like
in the GameCube one, I do.
Well, it's the same scene in the original. Obviously, it doesn't look as good, but the music in that room for the director's cut version is just so atrocious that it should be considered a crime. Whoever made that should be thrown in jail for a while. It's awful. It is not good.
Well, let me ask you this, because going back to Resident Evil 2, with the remake coming out, are you all right with the change in the way the camera works and everything? Because, ever since Resident Evil 4 and how they changed it, and in my opinion, for the better, And then I'm not going to mention 5 or 6 because as much as they are Resident Evil games, they don't really feel like it to me.
Yeah, I disagree. I think 5 is fully.
Well,
I mean, almost fully Resident Evil. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, you can see where they were changing and where it was going to head, and then 6 comes out, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, yes and no. Like we'll talk about those games one day. There are elements of those that very much fit within the Resident Evil universe, not just in terms of story either. But yeah, they ditched a lot of the survival parts of it. But what I will say is they play a hell of a lot better than Resident Evil 4 does. 4, I don't feel like plays very good. Like I know people call it like one of the greatest games ever. I don't agree with that at all. The perspective, yeah, it makes it more tense, but also makes it more cumbersome to control.
Well, I guess I could see that unless you're playing it on the Wii. Because that version with the motion controls, which, I'm not one for motion controls. I'll admit to that. But there's a select few games, Metroid Prime, Trilogy, and Resident Evil 4 being those select games for me. It's perfect as far as the controls go, and Resident Evil 4 is like a whole new game.
Well, the aiming aspects, are definitely better on Wii, and the PC version as well because of the mouse control.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that I don't really care for, pretty much post Code Veronica, is it diverges from the whole survival thing. There's so much ammo and there's so much health that gets just dropped by enemies because, of course, they're going to walk around with a plant in their pocket.
Yeah, sure.
They have a box of Magnum rounds in their pocket, apparently. And when they die,
but no
Magnum. Nothing.
No Magnum, though.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good thing, I guess, right? They'd kill you real quick if they had a Magnum, too. But I don't know how I feel about the perspective. It's interesting because bringing up Resident Evil 6, playing Leon's campaign in that game is as close to Resident Evil as Resident Evil can get post-Code Veronica, or has gotten post-Code Veronica. That's not counting Resident Evil 7, of course, because that's truly
completely different. But
yeah, it's truly to the core of Resident Evil. But
yeah,
I just
complete that yet. Actually,
I just keep thinking of Leon's campaign in RE6, and it had real traditional zombies. It was a whole lot more creepy in terms of atmosphere and stuff like that. So I kind of wonder if this is going to be somewhat like that, but without all the bombastic craziness that game was plagued by.
I guess we'll find out then.
Yeah, so far I've tried to not watch too much on it because I don't want it spoiled. So far, it looks like they're on track. Like, to me, it looks like a more intense version of RE7, essentially. Just the camera happens to be in a different spot.
Yeah.
So, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think they're going to do really well with it overall.
So since you do have experience with the various systems, playing Resident Evil 2 on the various systems, which is your favorite system to play it on?
Dreamcast, hands down. PS1 version is fine, and it's probably, if you really want to be a purist, that's obviously the way to go. But it doesn't look the best. Like, there are certain things that you could say are better, and it's mostly due to the fact that it is in 240p or whatever, like the PS1 was.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing on a CRT, that's how it's supposed to look. That's the way the game was made. But to me, the Dreamcast version just trumps it in every way. Like, models are better, though with that increased resolution and model detail comes the unfortunate side effect that the models stand out pretty harshly against the low-res backgrounds.
Oh.
But I don't know, you take some, you lose some. It's just like, I think it's fine that way. I like it better that way.
And what about on the GameCube version?
I've never even got to see that game.
Oh,
But according to Digital Foundry, the way that the Dreamcast and the GameCube reproduce colors is different.
okay.
The Dreamcast uses a different color space. I can't remember all the specifics, but of course, Digital Foundry is out there. You can go watch the video and see. But the GameCube does appear to have more accurate colors to the original version of RE2. But I will say that the Dreamcast one stands out not just because of its fancy graphics. If you go through a VGA adapter, and in my case, I'm using the OSSC to upscale it too. But the bigger thing is the VMU.
Oh, that was one thing, because I do have it for Dreamcast as well, and Code Veronica. The VMU is incredible.
Yeah,
You don't have to look up what your health is. You just look down and you see, oh, shit,
yeah,
I'm about dead.
It's pretty cool. It's more of a novelty, honestly, because it's totally unnecessary. And if you're playing in the dark like you're supposed to with a Resident Evil game, you're not going to see that VMU screen. But it was really cool to be able to play through and just kind of glance down quick and see what my ammo is at. Because obviously you want to keep fully loaded. And in those games, you can't just hit a reload button. You had to go in the menu and combine your ammo with your gun and all that. So being able to just take a glance like that and know where you're standing was awesome. Other than that, honestly, I think the GameCube one is probably
similar.
Probably pretty similar. I guess you could say you could look at it from like what kind of picture quality are you going to get out of a GameCube versus a Dreamcast if you have both systems, and how expensive is it going to be?
Yeah, because back then, the only way you were getting component cables was through Nintendo's online store or the catalog or something. I don't even know.
Store. Yeah.
And I don't remember how much they were charging back then, but obviously today you're talking upwards of between $200 and $300.
Yeah.
No, I ain't paying.
Well, there are new things though.
Oh yeah, obviously now, but back then we didn't have all those fancy options, and not every region had RGB, available to them. So like with me, I was playing on composite, sucking it up, but then again, I had a small little Samsung GX gaming TV. We're talking like 15-inch screen or something. So composite on that really wasn't bad. So I guess maybe I wasn't missing a whole lot, but
well, if you're looking at it today, like if you had never played the original Resident Evil 2 and you wanted to play it, that's where I'm coming from. Is if you have a Dreamcast and you have a GameCube and you want to play RE2, the things you got to look at are you could get a VGA box for Dreamcast fairly cheap, or like even the pound HDMI cable, which would make it dirt cheap, and you'd get 480p.
Basically the same. I mean,
sort of, yeah,
to a degree.
Good enough, I'll say, from what I've seen. Good enough. The other option would be the GameCube. If you got like the GCHD adapter that plugs into the digital port and analog port on the back of your GameCube, but of course you'd have to make sure your GameCube has the digital port.
Yep.
And that thing is still like $150, so it's not a cheap investment by a long shot. But then again, getting a Dreamcast isn't necessarily a cheap investment all the time either. So, you got to pick your battles. A lot of people, I think, would probably be pretty content just getting the PSN version, playing on their PS3. That's
now see. Actually, I have that. However, my first foray into PlayStation Resident Evil 2 is actually back in 2015. I found it at a Salvation Army for $2, mint condition, but it was the original release, no analog control. And I know you're cringing at this at the moment, but I prefer the analog control because my first time ever playing it was on the N64 using analog control. And when I try to play what do you call it, tank controls, it just feels awkward. And it's I don't know, like when I bought it, I put it in my PS3 and I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with these controls? It's not working. And then I learned, oh, this is the original, and you have to have the one that says, new DualShock compatible or whatever. And so I decided to spend the $5 and just buy the PSN version. Since I already had physical, I figured that's cool. I'm all right with that. And I went ahead and started playing it that way. And in fact, that's how, the footage right now is me playing it on my PS3 in glorified, upscaled 1080p.
Well, here's the thing with tank controls. Unlike you, I started on Resident Evil 1 on the PS1. There's no DualShock that even existed yet. So it wasn't really an issue. And actually, I think it might have come out before the Nintendo 64 even did. Because it came out in March.
Yeah, because it came out on the Saturn, and that came out before the N64 as well.
Yeah. So I obviously had adjusted to it. But when the DualShock versions came out, I tried it. I hated it immediately because it's like, to explain tank controls to those who may not understand quite what it is, since it's not a common thing. It's like you're controlling a tank, quite literally. So, like, if your character is facing, let's say, north on the screen, and you press the up button, the character is going to move forward, no matter which direction they're facing. They could be facing north, south, east, west. They're going to move forward when you hit up on the D-pad. So, and then they pivot left and right when you use the left and right directional buttons on the D-pad. So, when the analog stick is in play, it doesn't quite work the same. It feels to me more like maybe you're going to run forward, but kind of not, because you don't know for sure if you're more in the up section of the stick's movement or the right section or the left section. And I just could not adjust to it and never could. Even when Code Veronica came out on the Dreamcast, D-pad all the way. Even to this day.
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
On the GameCube one, actually, that really ruined it for the remake and Zero when they came out in GameCube for me, because that D-pad is so damn tiny.
Yeah.
I couldn't do Resident Evil, so I have the games, but I could never comfortably play the dang things because the D-pad being so small.
You ever thought about trying a third-party controller?
No, but luckily it's not an issue anymore, because with those games, with the HD releases, they have the whole new control scheme that's more traditionalized.
Oh, okay.
Where if you hit up, your character moves upward on the screen, no matter which direction they're facing. So, somewhat breaks the game, but allowed me to get a lot farther through the remake than I ever have before.
Are you hoping they have those controls in the new one? I know it's not really.
Yeah, it won't matter with with this one, because it's like you said, it's more like RE4. My big thing is, don't go so much like RE4 that you use the left stick to aim, because that ruined RE4 for me.
Oh,
I can't aim with a left stick. If I'm going to aim like in third person, it's going to be with the right stick.
I actually, if I remember correctly, I changed the controls. I think you can change them.
Well, even on the GameCube, though, like, that C-stick sucks. It's so small. I don't care what people say.
I think I can kind of agree. It's a bit weird. I don't know why they wouldn't have just put another...
Two regular size?
Yeah, but put the C on top of that or something.
Yeah, right. But,
so what else? Let's see. I know, like, we were talking earlier how there was, I don't know if it's rumored or if it was confirmed, but there's no visuals or something, but the Saturn was going to have Resident Evil 2, and
it was in production, but nothing leaked or came of it at all. So, well, it's just a mystery. We'll just never know. Even less, even like more of a mystery than what Resident Evil 1.5, which you can technically download and play now.
Oh.
So it's not like it's fan completed, sort of. So obviously it's not like a Capcom production, but as close as you're gonna get. So, but the Saturn version of the first game is unique. We should talk about that when we talk about the first game sometime.
Yeah, because I don't have, other than the GameCube version, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the first. So
I really the first game.
I'll have to get the original PlayStation version, and we'll play through that because playing the remake. See, that's the thing is like the remake was my first time playing the first game, and it's so gorgeous even today. You know, it's unbelievable.
Well, we'll talk about it more when we get to that game, but I have a lot to say about that one. Some interesting things though is that the first game was made as kind of a reboot or reimagining of the NES game Sweet Home. That never came out in the US because obviously it's too gory. So what was interesting with this game is that what the first one is Shinji Mikami, which we all know is the godfather of the survival horror game. He directed that one. Well, when it came to Resident Evil 2, he stepped back a bit and he took on a producer role, but handed the directorial reins over to Hideki Kamiya, who we now know as the driving force behind like Bayonetta, Okami. He runs Platinum Games. Like, he's a talented dude, to say the least.
It certainly sounds like it.
So obviously, with him getting Resident Evil 2 and then doing so well with that, like right out of the gate, the guy clearly knows what he's doing, and I think that's also where we started seeing a bigger action focus with these games. And if you look at the other games I just named, especially Bayonetta, that's a full
lot of action. Yeah.
He also went on to do for Capcom Devil May Cry, which was the original proposed Resident Evil 4. So
I'm glad. As much as that's a great game, I'm glad that that's not the
Resident
case.
Evil.
Yeah.
Right. Well, even Onimusha got the same.
Yeah, I actually wasn't the first one. Wasn't that supposed to be a Resident Evil game?
Yep. Yeah, it was. I don't know if it's Shinji Mikami that did that, but I want to say it was. I could be totally wrong though. But either way, those were both proposed Resident Evil 4s that never happened as Resident Evil, which it's good because Capcom was wise enough to see that those are wholly unique games and that they don't need to be Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But I had a few things I wanted to mention, like with Resident Evil 2 is the original game, that is. Like the graphics are way more detailed than the first, even comparing the original PlayStation versions. They look much nicer. And that includes the backgrounds as well as the character models. Character models, they have actual textured polygons rather than just a lot of flat shaded stuff like they did in the first game. And then, of course, the backgrounds have a lot more detail in them. Which, if you watch the Digital Foundry video, I'm going to keep referencing that. He details a whole lot. I think he said that it took him about 2 weeks to render one scene.
Well, back then, yeah,
so,
the computing power wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
But it also shows how detailed everything was, because even back then, Pixar had, I know it took a long time to render their stuff too, but in some cases, I think the Resident Evil 2 scenes, they're more detailed. There's a lot more going on, and I can see it.
There's a lot more identity to it too, and part of that's because it takes place in the city. But when the Resident Evil 2 remake was first unveiled, a lot of people noticed the Kendo gun shop sign.
Yeah.
They immediately picked up on that, like, oh, that's the same gun shop from the original Resident Evil 2. And it is, because in that game you could actually decipher those kinds of things. The first game didn't really have the opportunity to do that, being in a
mansion wooded area type thing. Although, I guess I don't even really know much about the original. So I only know about the GameCube one, but that's I don't know. I'm excited to see some of the various scenes from Resident Evil 2 into the remake and how they like translated visually. For instance, I want to see what some of these zombies are going to be looking like, or the zombie dogs even.
Yeah.
The only thing I've seen is the trailers. I do have a friend that has the game early. If I'm able to get footage from him, you're probably watching it right now. But I don't know. Greg doesn't want any spoilers, so
No,
I may not put it in just in case. But it's just I'm waiting to see the difference in visual fidelity.
Yeah, it's the whole prospect of seeing all those old monsters and areas and all that in a different way. Not only like in just higher fidelity, but from a different perspective. Seeing how they behave now compared to how they behaved then.
Yeah, that too.
The original remake had the same thing going on, which you wouldn't have picked up on since you played the original game. But it was really interesting, even in that game, to see how, like, you pick up a dagger. What the heck is this dagger for? Because that wasn't in the original game. You didn't have any defense items. So that was a unique change. So I'm thinking, like, with this, they've already confirmed daggers, I think, and defense items are in it. But how's that going to change things? Because Resident Evil 2 is like the first time in the series that they had like hordes of zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that, like, we've seen that 1,000 times, but to see it in Resident Evil 2 in the same police station that we're all familiar with, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be,
and that's another thing. Like, I want to see if they add more. I remember relatively in the more beginning of the game, before you get to the police station, you're in the alleyway, and you get on like the dumpster, but there's all those zombies like just in there, and you got to get through.
Yeah.
I want to see how many more zombies they pack in there. Make it harder for you to get through.
Yeah. I wonder if certain scenes are even going to exist anymore, because they had said that because of the perspective change, they've had to sort of redesign certain areas to better work with the camera.
Well, makes sense.
And it does make sense, and it makes me wonder, like, with that particular scene you're talking about, jumping on that dumpster, you're invincible. You can stand there and walk away, make
shoot away, or knife
you can stand there. They can't.
Well,
do anything.
I'm just saying it's an easier way to kill them.
Well, yeah, that's true. Save on ammo using your knife there, but it'll be interesting to see if they even bother having that scene, or what they do different with it.
Yeah, that's part of the excitement.
They've already, even in the trailer though, when the game was first announced, you can see there's some massive changes, because Kendo's gun shop is pretty much right next door to the police station, at least in that trailer. So I don't know. Like, I kind of hope that's not the case. I kind of hope it's just for the trailer. They might have updated people on that, but I have been trying not to follow the game too much due to spoilers. But
like I said, I've only really seen the first couple trailers. I haven't really followed a whole lot on it either, because again, I kind of want to be more excited when I first, well, in my case, put the disc in the PS4 and, you know.
I'm doing the same.
So you're buying that one physical?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Cool.
I don't know if my PC could handle it, so for now, PS4 it is.
Well, I'm not going to do it right away, but at some point it's probably one where I'll get the Xbox version as well, for collector's reasons. Yeah. But I'll wait for the first price drop.
Yeah, it'll be $20 in like a year, I'm sure. Just like
they're going to sell a ton of these too. What is your estimated first week sales?
I don't know. I don't know if I do sales numbers, because that's always hard to guess. I have asked some people, like, so you looking to buy Resident Evil 2 in a couple weeks? And they're like, I don't really follow it. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Is this going to be a bunch of us old farts that buy the game, and all these young bucks are going to be like, what's the big deal? We've seen zombies before.
Yeah.
You know, that would be sad if that's the case.
And it very may well be, but Resident Evil 7 did pretty well, but that may also be because of the VR aspect of it. People were kind of wanting to see what it's all about, you know, VR and stuff.
Maybe. I do want to mention the sound, because it can't be overstated how good the sound is in Resident Evil 2. Like,
yeah.
I can just think of that game, and I hear that jingle you hear when you first walk into the PlayStation.
Now, see,
oh my gosh,
I'm not sure, because obviously the N64 version had a lot of compression going on.
The sound was actually better.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, so, see, I didn't know.
Somehow, I don't know how the hell that happens. Video gets compressed to shit just so that it can fit, and yet the audio is better. Like, okay, whatever. I guess, I don't know. I don't do that, but apparently it worked out that way. It's a cool thing too, and part of the reason I mentioned how good the soundtrack is because if you get the deluxe edition of the remake, you actually will get the option to play that original soundtrack on the new game.
Oh, wow.
So that would be really cool. Not only that, but the deluxe edition has different outfits for the characters. The most notable, I think, is Elsa Walker outfit from Resident Evil 1.5, the original protagonist. You can wear her character or her costume as Claire.
Oh.
So it's kind of like playing Resident Evil 1.5 after all these years. Like, it's really, even if the outfit's kind of silly and everything, it's really cool to see Capcom be like, yes, we acknowledge that we have.
Well, they're taking pride in their history.
Yeah, exactly. It's really awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to mention here. There are more playable characters this time around. That's worth mentioning. You've got, like, of course, Claire and Leon, both of whom have been in other games, starred in other games even,
yeah,
which is always good with the Resident Evil series. But they also have, within each of their scenarios, they have different characters you either play as or play alongside. So, like, when you play as Leon, eventually you run into a woman named Ada Wong, and you end up taking control of her. She's kind of a mysterious character. I'm not going to spoil story right now, so she will show up, but that's all I'm going to spoil. And then there's, if you play as Claire, you run into Sherry Birkin. The Birkin family is part of the reason why all this crap is going down in the first place, so it's really interesting. And you do take control of Sherry, and her being a little girl makes it a little tense. You know, she can't really fight off zombies like Claire or Leon can, so it's pretty cool that they added that dynamic, and they fleshed out all these characters so much more. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game like crazy.
Do you think do you think they added more content that maybe got cut out in the original?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't think there's a whole lot of knowledge as to what what got cut, other than what we know of in Resident Evil 1.5. But I do think that there's a chance that some of those rooms and stuff may show up in some form.
Oh, that might be awesome.
The only issue I could see with that happening is that the police station in 1.5 is far different. It's far more modern than what we got in Resident Evil 2. So to have those rooms just kind of inserted in would be a little off, I think. But then again, you could easily say like, oh, hey, this is a new addition to the building we were working on, and it's not complete, which would be kind of a hilarious shout out to 1.5, which also isn't complete. And throw it in there just for fans. That would be cool. But other than that, I expect the bulk of the changes, meaningful changes, to be like finding files and stuff that like mention events from other games.
Now I see. Now here's the thing. Like, I didn't know about the whole scenario thing that you were talking about. So I'm curious. Do you think it's going to be the same way? Like, you play as one character and then you go and play directly, or
it is not. They've confirmed the zapping system is not in this game.
Oh, that's kind of a bummer.
But they did confirm that both characters have like wholly unique scenarios.
Oh, well.
So,
okay.
Like, what happens in one will affect the other, but they're like crafted stories rather than, you picked up this rocket launcher as Claire, so now Leon can't pick it up. It's not quite that interactive or anything, but based on what they've said, it's still like a wholly unique experience for each character, so you're not just playing through the game twice.
Okay. So, well, that makes sense for today's standards.
Yeah, they said that they didn't feel that today's gamer would really understand the concept of playing through a game multiple times. And they felt that if they kept that a lot of people would just simply miss out on like half the game's content or more.
I mean, you technically did.
I did.
20 years ago.
So did you, apparently.
Yeah, no, I definitely did.
But then there's also another thing. After you complete both Scenario A and Scenario B, you unlock the Hunk and Tofu modes, which the Tofu mode is hilarious because you literally play as a piece of tofu. Why would zombies want you? I have no idea. I feel like you'd be pretty much impervious to their desires if you're a piece of tofu. Zombies don't eat soy, I'm quite sure of it.
Maybe it's a vegetarian
zombie. Anyway, Hunk is a more meaningful part of the canon of Resident Evil because he's I think he's an Umbrella special agent, if I remember right, and he's sent in to do something. I don't even know because I never played it. So, but he is that whole thing is included in the remake. So that's
cool.
It's good news. One thing I'd really like to see is some reference or link to Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Because Nemesis takes place both before, during, and after Resident Evil 2. But just
I've actually never played Resident Evil 3.
Oh, really? What's the side story? Sony just got 3 slapped on there because they had exclusive rights to the numbered entries.
I see.
So the real 3 is Code Veronica. All the fans know that.
Which I have that.
Yeah. So, like, 3 starts off with Jill basically trying to find her way out of the city. Something happens. And then next thing you know, she wakes up and it's like after the events of Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
So to have some kind of a link between Resident Evil 2 and 3, even if it's just like documents somewhere or, maybe Jill left her little...
They may even very well put it all in there if that's the case.
Yeah, it'd be cool. And then, of course, it has a lot of people asking, oh, are they going to remake Resident Evil 3 like this? It's like, they could.
Well,
but
like you're saying, if Resident Evil 3 is more or less side stories of 1, 2, and like those events,
happens alongside 2. So,
well, my thinking then is the next game that they redo, if they do, would be Code Veronica.
I don't think so, because 3 is considered third game officially, even though it's.
But what I'm saying is, if they put it in this one,
they won't. It's too much game. It is a full game, even though it's a side story. You follow the events of Jill Valentine from the first game, so features one of the main characters. But then, like the whole Nemesis thing, like the dude stalks her through the whole game. So to remake that game in this style would be just ridiculously stressful. I feel like just to play, be terrible but awesome at the same time. So, I could see that happening. I feel like with all these remakes, it gets a little muddy once you reach Code Veronica, because that is made of polygons already.
Yeah.
And what do they do? Do they just wholly redo it like they have? It could, but. And then after that, what? Remake Resident Evil 4?
Honestly, I know they released it on PS4 and Xbox One and PC again.
And Switch.
Yeah, 9 million things, but
yeah,
I could actually
play it on my toaster.
I could see a remake, like a full-fledged, like Shadow of the Colossus style, even remake. I think it could be pretty awesome, and they won't have any C-sticks to you get upset with.
Maybe, but it's hard to say, because even when Resident Evil 4 came to the PS4 and Xbox One, they updated the PC version and has a HD texture pack and stuff, and it looks fairly modern. Like they could update the models and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like if they keep going in this kind of time frame, and it takes like 20 years for the next remake to come out, we're gonna be on like Resident Evil 15 and
PlayStation 7.
They're gonna have to remake the first game again, because it's gonna be so old by then. The remake will be old.
Yeah, they'll be doing a remake of Resident Evil 7 with like PlayStation VR 6 or whatever.
Yeah, it won't even be VR. It'll be a holodeck. Everybody will have one.
Awesome.
You'll just walk in and you're in the game. It'll malfunction every once in a while, and you'll probably get hurt or die, but still fun.
So anyway, I am quite excited for the release. I know you're probably getting it day one. Are you getting the deluxe?
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. I would like to. I don't know if it's is that like a pre-order thing? Because I don't pre-order games anymore.
As far as I can tell, it's not. I know that the extra costumes and stuff are downloadable, but I don't know if they're going to be sold initially without the deluxe. I don't know. I tried to find info on this yesterday, but I couldn't. So
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, 2 weeks, man, less than 2 weeks. I will be playing it.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the end of podcast number 2. I'd like to thank everyone for checking it out, and be sure to subscribe so you can check out podcast number 3. At this very moment, we do not know which game we're going to cover. However, if you follow me on Twitter, link in the description, I will announce which games we're going to be covering. So thanks again, and we will talk to you guys later.